Hereby call the Student Fees Commission back to order. It's the opinion of the chair that all members are present. Advisor Fonseca, please call the entity.
The next presentation are two of them. They're both EOF accounts. The first one will be the non-traditional student scholarship, and then the second one will be the first generation scholarship. They're located both on tab C.
Welcome and thank you for taking the time to present to the commission. You'll have 15 minutes to present your line item covering topics that you think will aid the commission with their decision. Following that, we will have a question and answer period. We will begin introductions from the commission.
Hello, my name is Amy Nguyen and I serve as the Student Body Vice President and the Vice Chair.
Hi, my name is Xiaowen Wang. I serve as the Underserved Commissioner.
Hi, my name is Grace Naylor, and I serve as the Freshman Commissioner.
Hello, I am Jasmine Pang, and I serve as the Health Professions Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Tyler Beatty, and I serve as the Out-of-State Commissioner.
Hi, David Miller, Administration, Finance and Operations.
Sheila Surrender, Financial Aid and Scholarships.
Scott Jensen, Student Affairs.
Gabriel Fonseca with Student Government.
Jason Post with the Budget Office.
Michael Zepeda, Budget.
Lindsay Fletcher, Budget Office.
Ella Runquist, Adult Learner Commissioner.
Brett Nyandoro, International Engineering Commissioner.
Guillermo Agumero, International Commissioner.
Abdullah Dewana, Government Oversight Chair.
Matthew Fawn, Speaker of the Student Senate.
I'm Luke Baum, and I'm the Student Body Treasurer and the Chair, and you may start whenever you're ready.
Okay, my name is Angie Zerlin, and I'm the Associate Director for Scholarships over in the Office of Financial Aid. Our office are the ones that manage both of these two EOF funds, so I'm going to take them one at a time. Both of them serve pretty much the same purpose. The funding that we get from these EOF funds, we turn that around and turn those into scholarships for our students based on the award amounts that we have. The way it is set now, we are able to award $1,000 for full-time students and $500 for our part-time students. That can also change from semester to semester, so we always start out with the $1,000 awards. These specific awards are for our non-traditional students. These can be either returning adult students or students that just don't follow the typical straight from high school path. Those are considered our non-traditional students. We try to find students always that have high need. That's the first place that we look, try to fill those gaps. And we also look for students that don't have a whole lot of other funds necessarily. So a lot of these students may not have the highest of GPAs. Our average for the students that have these funds are a 3.0. So it can be anywhere from students with a 2.5 up to probably a little over a 3.0. When we look to find students as students graduate out of this fund, we look for information in this instance primarily from our returning adult office. So I reach out to Pam, see if she knows students that she thinks could really benefit from this, and that's where we get our recommendations. So these aren't ones that we necessarily find ourselves. We reach out to our counterpoints here on campus to do that. You can see on the information that I've provided, we currently have $25,000 for this year that was allocated. That money was completely awarded, but then when we looked again after spring started, we did have 2 students that dropped from full-time to part-time. So that has freed up an additional $500 that we're looking to find a match and get those re-awarded. So those funds are always awarded down to 0 every year. Ideally, we would love to have like $30,000 for this fund, either to expand the pool of students or maybe even possibly increase the total award amount since the costs of education are going higher. This isn't a huge scholarship, but but especially for our returning adult students. We did have a representative that attended a conference this past fall, and she sat in on a session where they stated for returning adults, $500 can make the difference between them coming back to school or dropping out and not being able to continue. So for our students in this category, that $500 could truly be the difference between them being able to finish and get their degrees or to have to step away. And then sometimes when returning adults step away, they don't come back. So every little bit can help with those funds. Those are primarily the highlights that I have. So I'm open to any questions that anyone might have as far as how we allocate the funds or how we manage them as a whole.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation. I'll now open up the floor to any questions for any commissioners. Commissioner Argumendo.
Hello, thank you for coming in today. I just had a quick question for you. So you mentioned that once students graduate, imagine that opens up spots for new students, right? If your budget was to stay at $25,000, how many new students would you expect to be able to award the scholarship this coming next semester?
Think if I remember on the list correctly, we have 3 or 4 students that are scheduled to graduate this semester.
Commissioner Wong.
So in the additional information that you shared with the Student Fee Commission in your packet, I think you mentioned it as well as you were presenting about the on average $500 makes a difference between a non-traditional student continuing school and withdrawing or never returning. Have you seen that impact happen here at WSU with WSU students?
A lot of times with our students, we are not the front line, especially these non-traditional students. So we don't always know that $500 is the make or break. So all we can look at is general norms throughout the population. We do know that finances are always the top reasoning a lot of times for our returning adults, because they're not necessarily in a position to be able to scale back work hours or things along those lines when they have families to take care of. So that $500, it could be textbooks, and that's what they need to be able to have covered. So every little bit helps with this population.
Could you dive a little bit into kind of the marketing or outreach that you have for the scholarship to reach non-traditional students being able to apply for it?
There isn't a specific application. Like I had stated before, since these are general funds that can be open to any student, every year we reach out to the scholarship coordinators that are in each of the colleges for recommendations for students for any of the general funds we have. We also get information directly from offices that have that one-on-one contact. For this, it's primarily our Office of Returning Adults. They are the ones that choose the few recipients of some of the funds that we have for returning adults. So they are very aware of those students that this could really benefit, and they would know more detail than we would.
Commissioner Naylor.
In question 9, that is explaining like the assessments and evaluations, you stated that if a student no longer meets the requirement of the scholarship, their award is withdrawn or reduced. Can you talk a bit more about why it would be reduced instead of withdrawn if they're not meeting the requirement?
Yeah, that's where we run into the fuller part-time. We look at students when we look to renew them for an upcoming year, as long as their GPAs, they're still meeting that federal minimum of a 2.0. If they were full-time students the semester before, then we'll put the award on for the next year as a full-time student. If after the final day to add and drop courses has passed and we see that they're not full-time, as long as they're in 6 hours, we reduce that amount by 250 for that semester. So that's where the reductions come into place, not as a penalty for GPA, but more for the number of hours they're enrolled.
Vice President Nguyen.
So in question 3, so by increasing the amount of the yearly awards from 1,000 to 1,500, do you foresee this affecting the number of scholarships you are able to provide to students?
This is where it really comes down to the total amount of funds that were allotted for each year. We haven't been able to reach enough of a point to award everybody a higher amount quite yet. But depending on the amounts we have, these were some of the ideas we've looked at, whether it's upgrading everybody to higher amounts, whether if it's a smaller amount, maybe we just look at our graduating seniors and maybe increase their amounts, possibly as, don't know the word that you would want to use, but to kind of help those juniors to say, there's additional money there as long as you keep going and you keep progressing. So those are different avenues that we've looked at depending on the allocations. We don't want to cut the number of students that we award, so it all depends on how much money do we have to work with and what's going to be the best to do with those funds.
Commissioner Wong.
Going back to the supplemental information, I think you had also mentioned it in your presentation as well, about the staff member who attended a conference this past October and sat in on a session going over adult learners and how to better serve them. In what ways did they learn how we can implement this at our institution?
The conference that they attended was what we refer to as NSPA. It's the National Scholarship Providers Association. This is an annual conference where it brings either those that award scholarships and organizations that donate to them together to kind of figure out the best way to manage funds. They have a number of different sessions. She knew that we have a strong returning adult non-traditional population here. So she chose to attend that session. And the information that was provided in that session was based on national data. So it's just a combination of things, different schools, when they're finding out if a student leaves, what are the reasonings. So it's just data that's compilated on a national scale. I'm happy to get back with her and have her get that exact contact information if you wish to have that.
That's okay, thank you.
Any other questions from any commissioners? All right, seeing none, we'll just move on to the first generation scholarship.
Okay, our first generation scholarship is very similar to the EOF funds that we award for our non-traditional students. We try to find the students with the highest need, and we do reach out to offices that work a lot with first generation students. They're the ones that know the students personally, they work with them, they know what can make a difference and help to make or break their situations when it comes to finances. They also know that a first generation student isn't going to have the support network at home that a student whose parents have been to college has. So anything that we can do to try to help, like cover books or things along those lines. The funding for this is relatively the same. I can say that year before this year, we had a very good amount that was provided to us and helped us help a lot of students. But then, unfortunately, with the budget issues, that was cut by more than half. So as a result, we had a lot of students that were thinking that that money was going to be there. So we had to find other sources for them because we didn't want those students to think that they had done anything wrong because they didn't lose anything. They did what they were supposed to do. We just had to dip into our general funds more to keep them going for that. So with the increase that we've proposed, we would like to put a lot of those students back on this list to allow us to free those other funds up for other students. Again, these are students, they don't have to be star students. They don't have to have perfect GPAs. We look for students who are actively involved, students that are actually doing what they're supposed to do and that they're making progress. As long as they have that minimum of a 2.0 GPA and we can see that they're making progress year to year, those are the students that we want to try to help out with these funds.
All right, thank you so much. I'll now open up the floor for any questions. Commissioner Runquist?
So I saw on your application in question 12 that you had to reduce the amount of students receiving awards by 70 due to the funding shortfall, and you kind of explained it in your presentation too. I was wondering on average how many people apply to this scholarship and if you see potential for growth in that number?
We don't have applications for this, just like we don't have applications for the returning adult funds. Again, these are where we reach out to the colleges, and they are the ones that know the students that could truly use that little bit of help. So there isn't an application. But I can tell you that I'm sure you are all aware that we have a very large number of first-generation students that are here on this campus. So there's not going to be a shortage of students that would qualify for these funds. Between first generation and high need, any amount of money that's provided is definitely going to be able to be spent. The other thing I would like to kind of stress with both of these funds come from student fees. So this is kind of our way of paying that money back. I kind of see it as a reimbursement in a way. That we're not using this money for any benefit for us, it's going directly back to the students.
Commissioner Beatty?
Over this past year, the target audience for the scholarship has changed, correct?
Commissioner Beatty?
Is it possible that of the 70 students that had to lose their funding for the scholarship, that some of those were because the target audience for this scholarship changed rather than the budget?
No, because we don't really look at target audience in this situation. The students that had it before still met the first generation thing, so there wasn't anything tied to that in any way, shape, or form. It was strictly the budget reduction is the why we had to remove them from the EOF list and move them into some general funds that we had available to us. We look at student progress, and that's all we look at.
Any other questions from any commissioners? Commissioner Naylor?
In your presentation, you mentioned that you pulled from general funds to help renew some of those scholarships. On question 12, you said that you reduced your awards by 70. Is that 70 counting those that you pulled from general funds, or is that not with the general funds?
That was a total of 70 students that were no longer receiving EOF funds that are now receiving funds from our general funds, which to us, we have some foundation funds that are fairly wide open, and those students could fit within those funds that we had available. Of course, that makes it to where there's that many less freshmen that we can fill that gap with, but that's where the general funds come from. It's a total of 70 students that were pulled off of one list and had to be awarded through a different source.
So in years past, where had those general funds been being allocated?
Usually when we have general funds that are foundation funds that are available to us, as long as a student is meeting the progress for that specific scholarship, and that's a renewable scholarship, after that student has had it for 4 years, then that opens it up to another student. So in a lot of times with those types of funds, we try to find like a new incoming freshman that meets those requirements so that they could have it for that full 4-year total.
Commissioner Wong.
I just wanted to ask if there was a reason why there was no application and it was just kind of word of mouth process based.
The only applications that we have available to us right now are the applications through Scholarship Universe. And with the, what do we have, like 14,000 students? We only get like 3,000 students that fill out that application every year. So by us reaching out to the colleges, reaching out to the advisors, reaching out to different areas within the campus that counsel students, they can turn in and recommend those students to us so that we can get on the radar. Especially with first-generation students, yearly scholarship applications usually don't, it's not the top of their priority. They've got other things that they're more concerned about, and we don't want them to lose out on funds that might be able to really make a difference for them just because they didn't fill out an application.
Are there any other questions from any commissioners? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, and good luck, guys.
That button, red light will come on.
Advisor Fonseca, please call the entity.
Our next presentation is Trio Disability Support Services. They are an EOF account located on tab D.
Welcome and thank you for taking time to present to the commission. You will have 15 minutes to present your line item covering topics that you think will aid the commission with its decision. Following that, we will have a question and answer period. We will begin with introductions from the commission.
Hello, my name is Amy Nguyen, and I serve as the Student Body Vice President and the Vice Chair.
Hello, my name is Jawon Wong. I serve as the Underserved Commissioner.
Hello, my name is Grace Naylor. I served as the Freshman Commissioner.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Pang, and I serve as the Health Professions Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Tyler Beatty, and I serve as the Out-of-State Commissioner.
Hi, David Miller from Administration, Finance, and Operations.
Hi, Shilu Surrender from Financial Aid and Scholarships.
Scott Jensen from Student Affairs.
Gabriel Fonseca from Student Government.
Jason Post with the Budget Office.
Michael Cepeda, Budget.
Lindsay Pletcher, Budget Office.
Ella Runquist, Adult Learner Commissioner.
Brett Nyandoro, Engineering Commissioner.
Guillermo Gomedo, International Commissioner.
Abdullah Tiwana, Government Oversight Chair.
Matthew Fawn, Speaker of the Student Senate.
I'm Luke Bum, and I am the Student Body Treasurer and the Chair. And you're okay to start whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? All right. Okay, so I am the Director of TRIO Disability Support Services here at WSU. So I will just give you information about what we do and who we serve and go from there. So what is TRIO DSS? So TRIO is a group of federally funded programs that originated in 1965 during the Civil Rights Movement under the Economic Opportunity and Higher Education Acts. The initial 3 programs were Talent Search, Upward Bound, and Student Support Services. And so they eventually became collectively known as TRIO. And then Disability Support Services is a specific type of student support service program that is designed specifically for students with disabilities. So under the TRIO umbrella, then there's the Student Support Services sub-umbrella, and then there's different specialties that universities can apply for grants for. So here at WSU, Disability Support Services got its first grant in 2001, and we have been operating and serving students ever since then. Any grantee that is submitting for submitting a proposal for a university has to do so for the student support services. It's every 5 years. And so just this past summer, we were awarded a new 5-year grant. So we are now good to go through 2030. The mission of our program specifically for disability support services, the whole reason we are here is to support undergraduate students who are pursuing their first bachelor's degree. Those students with disabilities, we support them through academic support, resources, and just a holistic approach that enables them to persist from year to year until they graduate with a bachelor's degree. So I know that that's a really big initiative, of course, among all the universities right now. So we are glad to be a part of that. Our program serves 115 students each year. So that is what our grant states that we are funded for. And some of those students may be, included in that are students that we have previously served, and then they continue with us from year to year. And then typically we'll have new spots to fill each year as well. These students can have a variety of disabilities, including physical, psychological, and learning disabilities. So as long as it's a chronic disability underneath the ADA descriptors, then we can serve the student. And then 2/3 of our students must also be first generation and limited income. So that many of our students have a disability, are first generation and low income. These are some of the services that we provide through DSS. Academic advising is actually one of our required services. I know that here at WSU, students go to see their college advisors for the primary advising, but we can help support and help students understand more about what their course options are, more about their degree plans, and help them better understand what their options are. We offer career advising, so we can help them explore what careers might be a good fit for them. We can help them with resume review and writing, those kinds of things. We can do the mock interviews as well. We also offer graduate school advising, so helping them understand what the requirements might be for a program that they're interested in. We offer financial aid assistance and advising as well to help them understand what their options are as far as financial aid goes, and we can assist them with applying for financial aid and filling out the FAFSA, making sure they get that done each year. We also can offer financial literacy assistance, so that could be helping them, budget monthly, anything from that to helping them understand credit or applying for loans, car loans, personal loans. We also do study skill development, and all these things are mostly provided on a one-on-one setting with the DSS advisor. And then we also offer scholarships, and I have that one asterisk because that one is not specifically provided through the grant, but luckily it is something that we're able to offer by other means. And I think one of the most important ways that we provide our services is through a very strong advisor and student relationships, and that's key to their success and key to helping them feel like they belong here at WSU. Just giving them that person that they know they can go to talk to for anything they might need help with. And of course, we're not experts on all these things, so we do a lot of referring to other departments and supports around campus. So we're gonna help a student, understand what their financial aid options are, but then we also do a lot of referring for specific questions they have about their specific packages and so forth. And also, another example is we refer a lot to the Career Development Center. So we can help them with a lot of those things, but just helping them understand what all resources are available here is also a big part of what we do. We also offer workshops throughout each fall and spring semester and social activities designed to help them be able to engage and interact with each other. Again, just building in more ways for them to feel a sense of belonging to a community. We offer one-on-one peer tutoring, and we do that in a couple of different ways. So if a student is requesting a tutor, then if we have a tutor that we hire tutors through our grant, then we would match them up and they would work with that same tutor for the whole rest of the semester. We aim for two days a week. So that allows the tutor and the student to really get to know each other and be a consistent way of supporting that student in that class. And then we also we have math and writing specialists. So these are tutors that work in our office, and they offer walk-in tutoring assistance. So they can get help with any class from contemporary math all the way up through calculus, and then writing support as well. Then we have a small computer lab, and we offer free printing to our students, and just a place for students to come and study or relax in between their classes. The reason why we are requesting and have a need for the EOF funding is students with disabilities are very likely to have more expenditures compared to their non-disabled peers. This may come in the form of medical bills, different transportation kind of expenses, those kinds of things. And WSU students with disabilities can easily become discouraged and withdraw from their classes and or from the university because of their lack of financial ability to persist as much as they may want to. I actually just had this happen with one of our students a couple of weeks ago. She had filed for a financial aid SAP appeal and it was not approved. So she had been enrolled in 3 classes, but because that wasn't approved, she had to withdraw from her classes. And the $400 scholarship I was offering her was not enough to help her continue. And so, you know, finances can just be a huge obstacle for students as they work towards their academic progress and keep going from semester to semester, year to year. And so EF funding is actually the primary funds that we're able to use to be able to provide our scholarships. Our grant does not have any money specifically for scholarships anymore. It used to be written in, but this new 5-year cycle does not have any funds specifically for that. And then we have one fund that we get through the foundation that we're able to use. That's usually, that's it. So it's very much needed. The goals of this funding request are so that we can keep providing the EOF scholarships to our students and help them cover the cost of whether it's tuition, fees, textbooks, just general living expenses, and just in general reduce their overall debt burden that they have while they're working towards their goals. This is our contact information, which is also the same on the back of the brochure. And so that is all I have for you.
All right, thank you so much. I'll now open up the floor to any questions for any commissioners. Speaker Fawn.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. So I had a question about the amount that was allocated for scholarships in fiscal year 25, and then the total amount of scholarships as well within the budget proposal that you sent us. So for the amount allocated, it was $8,000. Yet the total amount spent on scholarships was $8,825. So is that a combination of like reserves that you had, other funding avenues as well?
The additional $825 above the $8,000 came from that foundation account that I was mentioning. So that was what we were provided that year, and so that's where that came from.
Commissioner Naylor.
Under question 7, you listed demographic information based on the average number of students served. Section C and B come to roughly 100%. However, Section A equals 149.1%, and Section D equals 86.1%. Can you explain maybe where that error occurred in these statistics?
Yes. I believe I was pulling from data I had used last year during my request and then trying to account for new information from WSU reporting. But in that, it was probably just numerical errors. So I apologize for that.
Vice President Nguyen.
I know since it is federally funded and there are strict guidelines regarding scholarships, are there extra efforts being taken to increase the amount of scholarship amount given to a student per semester? I know you touched on a little bit about grants. Can you elaborate more on what that looks like?
Unfortunately, with our current grant that we have funded that's for the period 2025 to 2030, we're not able to make any changes to that type of addition to be able to provide that through our grant. There's something called grant aid that can be written into grant proposals that was not included in the current one that was written. And which was not written by me, but but I'm I have to use that as a basis to continue. So yes, I plan the next year, the next time we're up for renewal, to add that back in so we can provide funds that way.
Commissioner Wong.
Since it's federally funded, how much do you get in those federal funds, and then what are they used for?
So we are funded just over $300,000 a year. And honestly, the majority of that goes to staff salaries and fringe benefits, tutors that we hire that I mentioned. And so I'd say, I don't have the exact percentage. I'd probably say 80% goes towards that. The other is spent on supplies, maybe that we need for scholarships, or not scholarships, workshops, just general office supplies, those kinds of things. We have some funding included for professional development. So, yeah.
Commissioner Naylor.
In your presentation, you stated that 2/3 of the students must be limited income and first generation. On question A, can you expand on why the 34% is not reflective of that 2/3 requirement in the percentage?
Yes, I know it is kind of confusing, and I learned a lot more about this when I completed my first report. We have to complete reports that go straight to the federal government. And it factors in the 2/3 I'll do my best to explain it, but it kind of combines some of the different eligibility factors into how it is output. So oddly, even though our program is specifically for students with disabilities, that means 100% of our students have a disability. For any student support service program, they have that 2/3 eligibility minimum with first gen and low income as well, but it's not actually reflected well in the whole numbers. That probably is not super clear, and I apologize, but it took me a long time to understand that myself.
Any other questions from any commissioners? Commissioner Wong.
In question 9, when it states that the department submits an annual performance report.
Yes.
What is in that report, and how has that impacted the program?
Okay. Yes, that's actually the report I was just referring to. It is primarily driven, we have a database system that we utilize that houses all of our data on our students. And it's very much based on, there's specific questions that we have to answer regarding each student, such as their demographic information, their academic information, but it's all reported on an Excel spreadsheet. So it's very much data and statistical based. And then it produces, maybe next year or whenever I re-up for this, I'll include a copy of that, because I think that would help everybody else understand what that report does look like. Because then that's the report where it would help us determine whether we met that 2/3 eligibility minimum.
Commissioner Wong.
Sorry, and then could you clarify how you use that data to impact the program?
Yes, I mean, that data helps us understand if we're meeting our objectives which now thinking I probably should have included in here, but we have 3 objectives that we have to work towards each year, and those are persistence rate, and in 24-25, we had to meet a minimum of 75% of our students would persist from one year to the next, and since I just did that report, we met 84% of our students persisted from 2024 into 2025, and that includes people who graduate as well. And then we also have an objective of 80% of our students will remain on good standing, meaning they'll have a 2.0 GPA or higher, and we met that objective as well. I don't remember the exact percentage right now, but I know it was over the 80%. Actually, I think it was 90%, now that I'm saying that. And then we have a graduation rate objective that when a student enters our program, within 6 years, they will graduate from WSU. And our goal for that was 30% last year, and we met 44%.
Commissioner Wong.
And then going back to question 5, when it says that it's allocated 8,000 and then the total amount for goal 1 and 2 are 8,825, are those the same dollars, or was the total amount like 16,000 to 17,650?
Are they this? $8,000 for the year. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, are those the same $8,000?
Yes. Yes. I'm also still learning kind of how to complete these.
Any final questions from the commission? Commissioner Wong.
And then going to question 9, when it talks about your assessments with students, what are the results of the DSS annual evaluation of services, and what do you do with that data?
Yes, so this is a evaluation that we do at the end of each academic year. We use Qualtrics to gather that information, and because evaluating our services is a part of our grant as well. And then we use that information to help us plan for the upcoming year. That might mean help us determine what kind of workshops students found useful or would be interested in, what kind of topics they're more interested in learning about. If they receive tutoring, we ask for them to provide evaluation feedback on that portion. So, yeah, it's a evaluation on all of our services.
Commissioner Naylor.
You had just mentioned some statistics. For clarity on those statistics you previously mentioned, did 44% of those students graduate in 6 years, surpassing that goal of 30%? Mm-hmm. And then did the remaining 56% take longer than 6 years, or did they not graduate?
Either one. So
okay.
Sometimes, students will not continue going, or if they are outside that 6-year window, then they don't count in that graduation rate anymore. Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts? Commissioner Wong.
And then who makes the selection of which students receive the EOF scholarship?
I do as the director, along with my administrative specialist.
And then is there any specific application for this process?
Yes, there is, which I've included in the EOF request application. And we just switched to an electronic version that I used Qualtrics for. And we do ask them to include a small essay with a prompt.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
step in for the mic to pick you up.
Advisor Fonseca, please call the entity.
The next presentation is the Child Development Center. They're located in tab E.
Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to present to the commission. You have 15 minutes to present your line item, covering topics that you think will aid the commission with their decision. Following that, we will have a question and answer period. We will begin the introductions from the commission.
Hello, my name is Amy Nguyen, and I serve as the Student Body Vice President and the Vice Chair.
Hi, my name is Jongwon Wong. I serve as the Underserved Commissioner.
Hello, my name is Grace Naylor. I serve as the Freshman Commissioner.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Pang, and I serve as the Health Professions Commissioner.
Hello, I'm Tyler Beatty, and I serve as the Out-of-State Commissioner.
Good afternoon, David Miller from Administration.
Hi, Shilu Surrender from Financial Aid and Scholarships.
Scott Jensen, Student Affairs.
Gabriel Fonseca with the Student Government.
Jason Post with the Budget Office.
Michael Cepeda with the Budget Office.
Lindsay Pletcher with the Budget Office.
Ella Runquist, Adult Learner Commissioner.
Brett Nyandoro, Engineering Commissioner.
Abdullah Dewana, Government Oversight Chair.
Matthew Fon, Speaker of the Student Senate.
I'm Luke Bum, and I am the Student Body Treasurer and the Chair. And you're okay to go whenever you're ready.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Jill Hofer, and I'm the director of the Child Development Center. This is my 26th year at the Child Development Center. And with me, I have brought Sarah, who is a lead teacher assistant, and Marcus, who is a parent. So I'm going to go through my presentation first, and then Sarah has some time to speak, and then also Marcus as well. So at the end, I know you guys have questions for us, so we'll be happy to take that. But just as a quick introduction a little bit, so the CDC has always been supported by SGA, so in a variety of different ways when it comes to like teacher pay increases, playgrounds, the safe room that was built at the CDC, but currently what you guys support and the only thing that SGA supports right now is our teacher salaries, who are all student workers at the university in education or related field. So all of the monies that we get that's allocated to us goes directly back to the students. We do a lot of social and emotional development for our student workers. So we do lots of training. We kind of treat the CDC like they're home away from home and give them that kind of experience for them. We do a lot of learning at the CDC, so the CPR and first aid, we do trainings, we do active shooter drills, online learning opportunities, conferences and workshops, and then leadership training as well. Lots of community involvement, so our teacher assistants are out in the community with our kids, going on field trips. We bring a lot of community entities into the CDC as well, so they have the opportunity to look at different things for like internships or structured learning that they can do or things like that. Applied learning is huge at the CDC, so we have a lot of teachers or going to be teachers that are there, as well as other colleges, like we have engineering, we have nursing, we have lots of different ones that come, but most of them are education majors. Every teacher that has left the CDC that is pursuing a degree, most of them have stayed around here. So in Wichita 259, we have dozens of former CDC alum that we call them. And also our outlining school districts have a lot of CDC alum there as well. And they have done things like been the Horizon Award winner for education. We had a runner-up for State Teacher of the Year, so things like that. So we do a lot of applied learning in lots of different ways. Physical education students, nursing students, speech language pathology students all work at the CDC as well. We have a lot of fun while students get to earn a living wage. So we create a lot of different events, not only for the education of our kids, but students also can help and participate in those events as well. Mud Day is a favorite. So We're also part of the campus community, so we try to do lots of things with our campus community. We come over, we do visits, we do field trips. Sometimes they're in the RSC. You might have seen us on Fall Parade or doing some of those things. Choose Joy Day is a fun day where the kids come over and hand out little treats and packets to students and workers that they see on campus. We do a lot of staff teamwork and bonding. So again, we really try to create a community at the CDC with our student workers. So we do staff bonding. We build a lot of lifelong friendships that are at the CDC. Lots of WSU community involvement. Some of them are in clubs or sororities, fraternities, things like that. And then we do department connections too. So if they're in, nursing, they may come over and do some assessments on the kids, or if they're in speech language pathology, they're coming over and doing some work with the kids in those fields. So we have a lot of departments that we partner with on campus to do some of those things. Leadership opportunities. So we have lead teacher assistants, who Sarah is one of our lead teacher assistants. So she has a leadership opportunity within the center where she actually takes over the classroom at the end of the day. She creates lesson plans to give to the kids, and she also talks to the parents and is the main greeter in the evening for them. So we have leadership opportunities that we have for students who are student workers at the CDC as well. Our student worker compensation, again, all these go directly to the students. Right now, we have 50 student workers that are at the CDC. We are one of the largest employers of student workers on campus. There are others, as well, but we are one of the biggest ones. So our pay kind of fluctuates just depending on when they start with us. They have a starting wage, and then we try to the best of our ability, if funds allowed, to give them raises every semester after that. That's just a kind of a little rundown of our student SGA allocations that we've had since FY 2020, and then our projected FY 2027 that we have. And then just an additional slide for you guys. We have some high priority needs for the health and safety of the kids that we have to work with this next fiscal year that we have to do. A new key card system, our fire alarm panel needs to be replaced, our fencing around the CDC needs to be replaced, and then our cabinets and changing tables and window replacements, but that's definitely been put on the back burner, as well as some updated repairs to some of our playground equipment. But those are some of our higher priorities that we have moving into this next fiscal year that we're going to have to manage funds to be able to work with those. So I will turn it over to Sarah so that she can talk a little bit about her experience at the CDC.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Haberkamp, and I am an elementary education major here at WSU. I've worked in education and childcare for 6.5 years now, with 2.5 being here at the Child Development Center, and I've loved every second of it. When people hear I work in childcare, they often imagine finger painting and playground supervision. That is part of it, but my reality is a lot more complex. I am a lead teacher assistant, so I do make lesson plans, and I speak to the parents, and I am in charge of my classroom at the end of the day. I am a bridge. I bridge the gap between administrative goals and classroom execution. I bridge the gap between a child's frustration and their breakthrough. Childcare isn't just a service. It's a high-stakes environment where the next generation's cognitive and social foundations are built every single day. For me and for many students like me, being a teacher's assistant is the most significant lab experience we have on this campus for us. It is where theory meets practice. I have learned to delegate and lead a team of peers. I've mastered behavioral management in real time, and I take on responsibility of ensuring a classroom remains stable and it's a thriving environment for children who depend on us. This isn't just a student job. This is a professional leadership training that prepares us for our future careers in ways a textbook never could. However, this role comes with immense pressure. As TAs, we carry the weight of the classroom while balancing our own full-time academic loads. Many of my peers at my job are also full-time students, just like me. We are the backbone of the childcare system, yet the support systems, financial, emotional, and professional for student workers in this sector are often spread thin. When we are burnt out, the quality of care for the community suffers. I just ask the SGA to recognize the teacher's assistant positions not just as labor, but as a vital student leadership role. Being a lead TA has defined my college experience and my professional identity. By supporting us, you aren't just supporting childcare, you are supporting the student leaders who are quite literally building the future. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marcus Wright. I am the Director of Video. I work in the Office of Strategic Communications here at the university, and I am also a part-time grad student pursuing an MBA through the Barton School. Like Jill mentioned earlier, I'm a parent of 2 young children that are currently enrolled at the CDC. So let me start by thanking you all for giving me a few minutes to share my perspective. And the first thing I want to talk about is the value that the CDC brings to the university as a whole, and what that specifically means for the students who are working there, because I feel like that's really what deserves the most attention. So, as you know, the CDC employs student workers, TAs, education majors, so they can get a paid applied learning experience while going to school here. And this really is a unique learning and working experience for WSU students, and I think this ties directly into the university's priorities, which is building a talent pipeline, meaning this is an opportunity for students to get a paid applied learning experience, working alongside professionals where they can build their skills, build their experiences, so that when they graduate, they can go out into the community and make an immediate impact. And I think this model is really what makes this university so unique. It's sort of what we hang our hat on, and the funding from SGA directly supports that. I also want to touch on the value that this place brings to the children that actually go there. So one unique aspect that the CDC has is the student-to-teacher ratio. It's 3-to-1, which is lower than what the state requires and lower than most other child care centers. And the reason they're able to keep the classrooms that small is because of the student workers. The TAs and education majors are in those rooms every day helping manage small groups, supporting instruction, and adding an extra layer of supervision. So what does this mean? With more adults present, teachers can actually focus on teaching instead of just maintaining order. Kids get more individual attention, there's more consistency in the classroom, and it creates a safer environment overall. It also helps reduce burnout and turnover among staff. When teachers stay, kids benefit from that stability. So when we're talking about student employment at the CDC, we're really talking about a staffing structure that allows that 3-to-1 ratio to exist. And from my perspective as a parent, that makes a real difference as I've watched this unfold inside for the past few years. All right, so my wife and I first came to the CDC because we needed convenient childcare that worked with 2 full-time jobs. What we ended up finding out was something more than what we could have hoped for, honestly. My oldest starts kindergarten soon, and I know that she'll be ready academically, socially, in every way that matters, and that foundation started at the CDC. But what's truly mattered just as much to us beyond her learning is the comfort of consistency. Familiar teachers, familiar routines, and a place she knows and feels safe. That stability has allowed my wife and me to show up to work fully. We're not scrambling, we're not piecing together childcare week to week, or wondering if our kids are in a place that share our values. The center is why both of us have been able to keep moving forward with our careers. And so that brings me to funding. Over the past 2 summers, funding has been reduced, maybe three summers, am I right? And as a result, tuition prices have increased. That's not unusual. I know it seems like the cost of everything is going up. But what is different in this situation is the pace and unpredictability of these increases. Before 2023, the CDC's pricing or the tuition specifically, was stable for nearly 9 years. So families could plan around that, right? Now, year to year, they really can't. Childcare isn't flexible in the way other expenses are. Wait lists at other centers are long, and transitions are really tough on kids. So once your family is structured around a childcare arrangement, you're not really in a position to easily absorb sudden changes. Every increase means something else has to give. And for some families, that's meant pausing grad school, so we can focus on income in the short term instead of staying enrolled. And when that happens, that can stretch out a degree, it can slow momentum, and I know I'm not the only non-traditional student that's had to make a tough decision like that. When CDC funding is cut, there's a potential ripple effect. Student workers could lose a unique and valuable employment opportunity. Classroom ratios could rise, and non-traditional students may have to stop their education in order to make ends meet. So when this comes up in budget conversations, I'm asking you all to take it all into consideration. Not just childcare, but student employment, retention, families who are working and earning degrees at the same time, trying to keep everything moving forward. The CDC is how a lot of us that's how we make it all work, and I believe it's worth protecting. Thank you for your time.
So they said it much better than I could articulate. I know you guys have a packet in front of you that talks about like our mission, our goals, and things like that, but I really think hearing from the people that the CDC impacts the most really sets up a really good picture that you guys don't just support a child care center. You support dreams, ambitions, education. Some of our students truly, if they didn't work at the CDC, they would not be able to stay in school because they would have no way to support themselves. We have people who work at the CDC because they don't have cars, they don't have transportation, so it's within walking distance. We work around all of our students' schedules. So we have some students who can only have time to work 5 hours a week, and we have other students who work 30 hours a week. So we're really flexible when it comes to their class schedules, and we work around study groups, lab groups, their clubs, sorority, fraternity meet, when they have to meet and things like that. So we are very flexible with our students when they're coming in for their jobs. And we tell them, you essentially create a schedule that works best for you, and it's gonna work best for us, because that then will create more dependability, it'll create more structure for them, and they know when they're coming into work. So they know every week, every semester it's set. So they know, how many hours they're getting, when they're working, and what's to be expected of them. So I will open it up to any questions that anybody may have.
All right, thank you so much. I do have a question to start off. So you kind of mentioned some budget cuts over the past couple years after having stability for quite a few. Are you referring to the SGA budget cuts here?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so if you're referring to the SGA budget cuts and those dollars being directly allocated towards student pay and everything, then how come that was tied to tuition increasing?
Our only source of income is based off of tuition or SGA funding. So we get no monetary support from the university, so no state funds.
Well, just to clarify, so I was saying because the SGA funds are the only funds that are being cut and the SGA funds only being paid towards the student workers, then how come that is affecting tuition rates?
Because we have to allocate all of our dollars. So when we're trying really hard not to cut our student workers, because they are truly the lifeline of the CDC. They make our operations work. And so if we had to cut that, it would alter the way we operate the Child Development Center. So to offset costs so that we can still keep a majority, we've had to lose some of our TAs, but to keep a majority of them, we have to raise tuition in order to help supplement that pay. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Commissioner Naylor?
You talked about offsetting that cost a little bit. Question 2 says that you're requesting $50,000 less than last year, and yet on your tuition sheet for this upcoming year, it says that you're raising tuition. Can you talk a little bit more about why you're cutting the cost for SGA funds if it's going to the teacher assistants?
Thank you.
So that was not the choice of the Child Development Center. 3 years ago, SGA instituted a reduction in their operating budget from student fees. So if you look at the spreadsheet that I think is in here, hold on. On 2 and 3, you'll see that starting in FY 24 is when SGA began a $50,000 annual reduction. So they don't have a choice because it's automatically going to happen. This upcoming fiscal year is the final fiscal year of that automatic $50,000 reduction.
Speaker Fawn.
Yeah, thank you for presenting. I had a question about question number 6 on page 54 of the binder. The first goal was to enhance compensation for student employees, and it says it depends on the fiscal year and funds. So can you give us like a rough estimate on what that might look like for enhancing compensation for student employees in regards to the work that they do as well?
Yes. Our student assistants are paid a very low wage for the work that they do. They, again, I will say it and stress, they are the backbone of the CDC. They work hard every day. So we try to the best of our ability to allocate raises for them. Small, usually it's 25 cents is all that we can really afford. And in order to do that, we have cut some of our things that we give to, like art activities or some of our family events or things like that. We've been cutting from those areas for especially the last 3 years, to be able to at least give the student assistants some sort of pay increase to keep them. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not enough, and we do lose teacher assistants, sometimes to other child care centers who pay more, or to other jobs that can help support them. But we do try our best in looking at our funding to make sure that we are trying to allocate for that. I don't know if it's going to happen this year, just because, as you can see from the other priorities that are, life and safety measures, we have to be able to do some of those things this next fiscal year as well.
Commissioner Argumento.
What type of impact do you expect from your new tuition rates? When we're looking at our book here, we were changing to a different type of scaling rate. What type of impact will you see on the enrollment of children whose parents are at WSU?
It seems like every time we have a tuition increase, we do tend to lose some families. Last year, we did lose a handful of families. Coming into this school year, we also lost some families who had been with us, but they had another child, so they couldn't afford it, so they stayed home, and they were university employees. So we do anticipate an impact on some of our families leaving because of a tuition increase.
I guess just to follow up on that, so with some families leaving and everything, it looks like from 25 to 26, your revenue did go down. So is that a sustainable business model to be increasing tuition while you might lose some families due to that?
We do have an active wait list, so most of the time, those families who leave, we can go to our wait list and have new families come into the CDC. Where we see that that's not necessarily the case is in our pre-K program. Most of the outerlying school districts have a pre-K program that is funded through the state, and it's free. So that classroom tends to, if we have open spots, sometimes spots tend to remain open in that classroom. So, for example, this year we have 3 open pre-K spots that we've tried to advertise for and get pre-K students in, but that classroom is just a little harder to replenish.
Commissioner Pang.
Hi. So On question 8, it says that you currently have 48 teacher assistants and that 84.81% of that percentage is funded by student fees. What makes up the total rest of that percentage, per se?
Tuition dollars make up the rest of that.
Commissioner Beatty.
What are the retention rates you're seeing on your teacher assistants?
It fluctuates. Usually we lose anywhere between 5 to 8 teacher assistants a semester for a variety of reasons, right? Some of them could graduate, some of them transfer to other schools, but some of them do leave because of low wages or needing more funds. So it fluctuates, but anywhere between, I would say, 6 to 8, 10 at most a semester, but.
Vice President Nguyen.
I might have missed this, and I apologize if I did, but could you elaborate further on why you do not qualify for grants and external funding?
Yes, absolutely. So most grants that are allocated for childcare centers are for specific demographics. So usually low-income families, and our demographics just are not there. We do have some lower income families, and for those families, they have the opportunity to apply for, it's called DCF funds, where the state will step in and pay some of their tuition rates. So it just depends on the families, but most of our clientele do not fall into that, so we can apply for those grants to be able to help sustain the CDC that way.
Commissioner Argumento.
So going to question 1, your first mission point is that the CDC is dedicated to providing high-quality early childhood education opportunities for children of students, and then it goes on to list like faculty and community. Do you believe that this mission has since changed due to these budget cuts and the rise in tuition?
No, I think our mission is still to provide high-quality care to all children who come to the CDC. I think it has changed a little bit in regards to actual students' children and more faculty staff's children, but we do still serve students' children at the CDC. Unfortunately, it is expensive, so a lot of students can't afford that. When we do have students who come in who have children who are inquiring about our tuition rates, we do talk to them about DCF funding and things like that we do accept that. So hopefully if they get a spot, then they can apply for DCF funding to kind of help offset the cost of tuition for them.
Commissioner Argumento.
And kind of going back to funding and grants, wouldn't your students kind of qualify for applied learning or work study besides being made up for like tuition and SGA funding?
Yes, we do have some students in work study, and this year we did qualify for one of the applied learning grants. So part of the thing, work study students is semester by semester, depending on their financial aid, and then applied learning grants are, as we know, just we don't know that it's sustainable, so it's not something that we can actually put into our budgets as a dollar line item and count on that.
Could you give the specific number of how much that applied learning grant is for this year?
$60,000 that we got for an applied learning grant.
Commissioner Wong.
What's the breakdown of who utilizes the CDC specifically for faculty, staff, and then your traditional students?
Yeah, a majority of our clientele is faculty, staff of the university. Currently, I would say about 80%. I think we have 6 students who have children at the CDC, and then the rest are alumni community members.
Vice President Nguyen.
With you saying that you're currently serving 6 student families, have you seen this number increase or decrease within the past years, or would you say 6 families would be the average?
It's definitely decreased. Previously, if you in my presentation, SGA used to support a sliding fee scale for students' children. That has gone away because it's gone away from SGA. So in doing that, we do see student families who just, again, can't afford the CDC. So without that additional revenue coming in for them to be able to offset tuition, we have seen a decrease in our students who use the CDC as childcare.
Commissioner Argumedo.
So can you elaborate more on like the $50,000 reduction and what programs have been eliminated? Because on question 12, you do mention that programs have been eliminated, but I just kind of want to know a little bit more.
Yeah, most of those are like our in-house things that we provide to the kids. There has been a couple of, we used to have some all-day learning events or trainings for our teacher assistants that were at an all-day capacity. We have had to move away from that because we haven't had the funding to support that. So now we still offer training, but it looks a little bit different to them, and it's more an evening commitment. Some of our programming, so we've had to cut down on the cost of, what we spend on art supplies or just regular supplies in the classroom. Some of our center-wide events that we put on for the families, like a family picnic. We used to have a family picnic. We have cut that out. Some of our in-house events like animal encounters or field trips or bringing in different identities or people like we had the lion dancers that would come in. So some of those things we've had to cut in order to make things work.
Any final thoughts from any commissioners? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. Oh, Commissioner Wong.
What's the average annual income of those who benefit from the CDC?
As far as parents?
Yes.
I would say middle class. I'm not really privy to their financial situations, but which I would say, they are, most of them, like I said, Wichita State employees, so either faculty or staff. So I would say most of them fall middle class.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further items on the agenda, we will begin with closing.
Mr. Chair, pursuant to commission regulations as set by the SJ bylaws, the commission shall provide an opportunity for public forum at the end of each day of hearings.
Public forum provides a chance for individuals to have the privilege of speaking before the commission, limited to 3 minutes only. This is a time for the commission to listen to what the community has to say, and to that we offer our undivided respect and attention. I'd like to remind everyone that, though we allow the speakers the privilege to use this platform, the opinions of the speakers do not reflect the opinions of the association. Advisor Fonseca, has anyone requested to speak during public forum?
No.
Seeing none, the commission will stand in recess until 9 a.m. on March 3rd, 2026.